Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verses 1 to 5.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Param Bhuyah Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanamuttamam Yajñātvā munaya sarve Param siddhimito gataha Idam jnanamupashritya Mama sadharmyamagataha Sarge pinopajayante Pralayena vyathanti cha Mama yonirmahad brahma Tasmin garbham dadhamyaham Sambhava sarvabhutanam Tato bhavati bharata Sarvayonishu kaunteya Murtaya sambhavanti yaha Tasam brahma mahadyonihi Aham bija pradapita Sattvam rajastama iti Guna prakriti sambhavaha Nibadnanti mahabaho Dehe dehinamavyayam.
Last week, in this chapter, we had completed the first topic, which is from verse number 1 to 4. The topic is realizing Brahman, sages transcend creation and dissolution. This he covers in the first 4 shlokas of this chapter. So, what he says is, Sri Krishna first offers Arjuna to give this knowledge again, meaning he has already said this, is going to elaborate the same thing from different angle, emphasizing the importance of this knowledge. And he says this knowledge is the supreme knowledge, and it is the best of all knowledges because it can help you to catapult to that highest divinity, to know thyself, to merge with your true nature, to become Brahman. And when he talks about that, he says in verse number 2, he says, once you have taken refuge in this knowledge and attained unity with this realization, with truth, you are neither born in creation nor disturbed in dissolution. In the sense, thereafter there is no more birth and death, no more creation and dissolution. You don't repeatedly take birth and repeatedly dying that happens today will not happen to you. You don't go through the mechanical existence of birth and death thereafter. You don't identify with your body which is born. You are not born when the body is born. You don't die when the body dies. You go beyond the body and identify with the Atma which has no birth, no death. That is the benefit of gaining this knowledge. And then he gets on to the subject. Before really getting on to the subject, he wants to give that highest truth, the theory of creation. In 3 and 4, he talks about it. In short, for a creation of pot, there is both the material cause and the intelligent cause. Upadana karanam, material cause, and nimitta karanam, intelligent cause. Material cause of the pot is what? Clay. intelligent cause for the pot is pot maker. Now, when it comes to the world, when we are talking about the source of this world, the cause of this world, we cannot say there is a material cause with which, like a pot maker made the pot, world maker makes the world. And the question comes to, where was he or she or it when the process of world being made? When the process of making the world was going on, where was that person making this world? Then who created that world? You understand? So we get into trouble. So Vedanta explains and says, there is nothing else other than the truth. When you say this world is nothing but cause and effect relationship. For every effect, there is a cause. So cause, effect, it goes on. Effect becomes the cause for another. So it goes on, the chain. Who's my father's first father? So when you trace back like that, the very first father should not have had a father. Understand? So Vedanta says that Ishvara or Brahman is the causeless cause of this universe. It has no cause. Being without a cause is the cause of this universe. So when they talk about Shiva in the Shastra, Lord Shiva, they say he is one who is an orphan. You understand? Lord Shiva is an orphan. Orphan meaning what? No father, no mother. But he is the father and mother of this universe. Right? Ardha Narishwara. We talk about Lord Shiva as Ardha Narishwara, meaning both Shiva and Parvati in one form. Half Shiva, half Parvati in one form. Which is talking about what? Purusha and Prakriti together. Prakriti is part of Purusha. Now, he already discussed about Prakriti and Purusha in the previous chapter, if you remember. In the 13th chapter beginning, Arjuna asks, I would like to know Kshetra, Kshetrajna, knower, known, Purusha, Prakriti. In fact, first he talks about Purusha, Prakriti. He asks, what is Purusha, what is Prakriti? He goes on, knower, known, and then Kshetra, Kshetrajna. But Sri Krishna first talks about Kshetra, Kshetrajna, then explains knower and that which is to be known, and then he talks about Purusha and Prakriti. Now he wants to say that this Purusha and Prakriti together is the cause of this universe, and Prakriti is part of Purusha. You understand? It's an aspect in Purusha. You cannot separate. You understand? And then Prakriti is the material cause. Purusha is the intelligent cause. And Prakriti and Purusha put together is called Ishvara. And Prakriti you call as Maya Tattvam, Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti plus Purusha is Ishvara. And Maya is the material cause. Purusha is the intelligent cause. So, Ishvara is the cause of this universe. Both the material cause and the intelligent cause. Now you ask, how is that possible? Then one of the Upanishads, Mundaka Upanishad says, just like how the spider spins web from its own saliva. From the saliva within, the spider spins the web. And you see at some point in time, very spider is caught in the web. So it's like that. From the very material Prakriti, Ishvara has spun this universe and as it were embodied. You understand? As it were embodied. This is the tamasha going on. So, just like how the material cause and the intelligent cause for the web is spider, the material cause and intelligent cause for this universe is Ishvara. You understand? And the existence of that supreme reality leaves a possibility of not understanding the supreme reality as supreme reality. That is always there. The existence of an object leaves always has the potential of not understanding the object as object. The potential is inherent in the object. The potential is inherent in the object. And that potential, Prakriti, manifests as subtle body and the gross body everywhere, whatever forms you see, it is nothing but that supreme reality which has manifested itself as this Brahmanda, this entire universe, and also the individual microcosm. That's all he's saying. Therefore, from that Ishvara, this world and the individuals have come about. And what is the material cause for this? The material cause for this is Maya, Prakriti. And what is Prakriti? Triguna Atmika. If you had studied Tattva Bodha, I think we did Tattva Bodha in one of our classes. So if you recollect what we studied there, that Triguna called Satva, Rajas, Tamas, Triguna Atmika. When we talk about Maya, Prakriti, we call it as Triguna Atmika. So from that Prakriti, the three gunas come about. And he is going to talk about the three gunas in detail. You understand? What is the nature of these three gunas? How do these three gunas bind you? How does Satva bind you? How does Rajas bind you? How does Tamas bind you? How do you know what is predominant in you? All that he discusses. And what happens to you when you die, when Satva predominates or Tamas predominates or Rajas predominates? And, how do you transcend these gunas and realize Brahman? This is a complete analysis of the three gunas here. Now, understanding these gunas are very, very important, because what is standing in between us and divinity is these gunas. We have to rise above the gunas. Brahman, supreme reality, is called guna atita, sattva atita, guna atita. Beyond sattva, rajas, tamas, gunas, beyond sattva. So we have to first, to go beyond it, we have to first understand it. Understand? You have to understand the gunas, control and manage these gunas, and reduce, eradicate tamas and rajas, and increase sattva, and then finally go beyond sattva. All that he talks about for that purpose. And there is another purpose, secondary purpose, which is once you understand how these gunas function in you, you also understand how the gunas are functioning in the others. Whether that person is tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic. You understand? Then you will be able to relate with that person better. Relationship will be easier, smoother, once you understand the nature of that person. In that person also there is sattva, rajas, and tamas. So when you understand what is predominant now, accordingly you will deal with that person. Like when you go to the zoo, you see the animals, each of them having different nature. You understand their nature and accordingly you deal with them. You may love every animal equally, but you will not go closer to the tiger, but you will go closer to the deer and pat the deer. So therefore, understanding the gunas help in relating with the world and also helps in controlling, managing and rising above the gunas. Primary purpose is self-realization. Secondary purpose is relationship. Now let's get on to shloka number 5. Now from shloka number 5, you will see the topic is what? The topic is from 5 to 13, nature of sattva, rajas, tamas, gunas, qualities, how they bind beings. This is the topic. Verse number 5.
Satvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinamavyayam.
Sattva, rajas, tamas. These gunas, qualities, born of Prakriti matter, bind the indestructible embodied to the body, O Mahabaho. Mahabaho here refers to Arjuna. O Mahabaho, mighty armed Arjuna. He is telling Arjuna, now though this entire universe is a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is the source of these gunas. Prakriti is the source of these gunas. Satva, Rajas, Tamas, the gunas, qualities, are born of what? Prakriti, matter. Because Purusha is without gunas. Purusha has no gunas. Prakriti is the one which has these gunas. From that, the gunas are coming about. So he says, Prakriti is the source from which these three gunas have come about. That's why I said if you study Tattva Bodha, it's easier for you to understand how from the Maya, first the space comes, from space, Vayu, that is air, and then fire, then water, then earth. He talks about the sattvic and rajasic aspect from which the subtle bodies come about, the five organs of perception, five organs of action, pranas, mind, intellect, all come about from the sattvic and rajasic aspect of the Prakriti, Maya. Then, how from the Tamas, which goes through pentamerous self-division and mutual combination, the gross world comes about, which is the combination of five gross elements, and from that, this gross body has come about. All that he explains. So that is what you have to recollect here. When he says, Satva, Rajas, Tamas, these gunas born of Prakriti, matter, it's come from Prakriti, matter, the Maya Tattvam. Now, it binds what to what? He says, what is bound to what by this matter? He says, the indestructible embodied. What is it referring to? Avyayam. Avyayam means indestructible. Dehinam avyayam, meaning indestructible embodied. Dehe. Dehinam avyayam. This indestructible embodied Atma is as it were bound to the body. I am adding this word as it were because even when you think that you are bound, you are actually not bound. If you are actually bound, whoever tied that knot had to come and untie it, isn't it? But you have through ignorance bound yourself. So what he says is, these gunas generally have this nature of binding. First he talks about the general description of gunas. Firstly, there are three gunas called Satva, Rajas, Tamas, he says. And then he says, they are what? They are all coming from where? Coming from Prakriti. Their source is Prakriti, which is Maya. And then it is Nibatnanti, meaning what? They are of binding nature. All gunas bind you. Immaterial of whether it is Satva, Rajas, Tamas. All gunas bind you. We have already studied in our class many times about Satva, Rajas, Tamas, which is what? Satva means serene, balanced state of mind. Rajas means restless, passionate, desire-ridden, greedy state of mind. Tamas means lazy, lethargic, indolent, heedless to consequent state of mind. Now, these are the three gunas, right? And these gunas have nature of binding. All of them bind you. It's like saying one bondage is by the iron chain, another bondage is by silver chain, another bondage is by gold chain. But bondage is bondage. You are bound, you cannot move. You've been restricted, you become limited, you're constricted, which gives you frustration. You understand? So therefore, Satva is also binding. All gunas are binding, he says. Nibadnanti. They are of binding nature. This matter binds. Binds whom? The indestructible embodied. To what? To this body. Dehe dehinam avyayam. So, the indestructible meaning what? That which is born will have to be destroyed. That which came into existence will have to perish. So if it is indestructible means it did not come into existence. So the Atma, which actually did not come into existence, which is your original nature, is bound to this so-called coming to existence body, or the body that comes into existence. You get it? So in other words, this is where the problem happens. When you are overpowered by the gunas, you start thinking yourself to be this body. Then whatever happens to this body happens to you. Heat and cold of the world, pleasure and pain, honor, dishonor, censure, praise, joy, sorrow, all this will affect you. Why? Because you have tied yourself to the body. Heat and cold is capable of affecting the body. Joy and sorrow can affect the mind. Honor, dishonor can affect the intellect, but not you. But since you tied yourself, here when he says body, it means all the body, gross, subtle, causal bodies. You understand? You tie yourself to all this. Then, therefore, whatever happens to the body happens to you. So you are actually not affected, but you think you are affected. That's what he's saying. So when he says, Dehe Dehinam Avyayam, beautifully he says, this person who is actually indestructible, Avyayam, is which has come to have tamasha, has entered to play, is now stuck. Abhimanyu entered the Chakravyu to go finish off the opponent and then come out. But he got caught there. Similarly, we are all entering, we have entered, we have come here, and we are lost by the overpowering of this gunas. And Swamiji gives a beautiful example. He says, you take three objects, iron rod, wooden stick, and magnet. Take the magnet to the iron rod. It gets attracted. Take the magnet to the wooden piece. Will it get attracted? Wooden piece will not get attracted. Now you tie the iron rod and the wooden piece together. Now will the magnet attract the combination? Yes. Even when the combination is attracted, is the wooden piece in the combination actually attracted? No, but seems to be attracted because of its association with the iron rod. So magnet is the word, iron rod is the body, mind, intellect, and wooden piece is the Atma. Don't go about saying Atma is like a piece of wood. Atma is not a piece of wood. You understand? In this example, to convey the point, is saying, though the wooden piece seems to be attracted by the magnet, the world, it is actually not affected, not bound. You understand? So therefore, he is beautifully explaining here. He says, first of all, this Prakriti is the source for these gunas. And these gunas are called Satva, Rajas, and Tamas. They are all of binding nature. They bind the Atma, which is actually indestructible, to this destructible body, to this changing world. And all the changes affect us thereafter. So, when you gain this knowledge, you understand that you have the potential to be not affected by any change. When you gain the potential not to be affected by any change, when you realize that potential not to be affected by any change, and you manifest that potential, then you can actually influence the change. From the person who is being influenced, you can become the influencer. You understand? See, in cricket, Test cricket, now recently India lost to Australia, and many batsmen were getting out when the ball was bowled outside the off stump, and they will go for a cover drive. The ball will take an edge of the bat, and then in the slip they are caught. You understand? It's going on like that. Now, if a batsman leaves that ball and doesn't play that ball, okay, After a few overs, the bowler gets tired, right? And what will the bowler do? I keep on bowling there. He's not playing only. So after some time, he'll start bowling where? To your strength, wherever your areas of strength. Then you can start hitting the ball for fours and sixes. So you first don't get influenced, and then you can start influencing. You understand? First, you don't get influenced. Then the person who doesn't get influenced alone has the potential and capacity to influence the world. So this is what he's actually talking about here. When you really understand, how the whole thing functions, when you begin to understand, when you do reflection on it, and then you see actually in the world how you were affected and bound in the past to certain things, then you understand, okay, I have these gunas. That's why I got attracted to that. Right? In the newspaper, you see so many things are there. Certain news about politics is there. Delhi elections are going to come. So they talk about politics in some of the pages. And some of the pages they're talking about economics. You understand? New taxation is coming and all that. Right? Not coming, I'm just saying. Okay. So things like that. And then sports is there. Different things are there. Each one gets attracted to that particular page according to their vasanas, according to their gunas. They are bound, they get affected. What is this taxation, this thing, that thing, or this politics? Oh, this person is saying like this, nothing has been done. Everybody gets affected by that particular thing. You understand? Because you have the gunas. So when you see that, oh, okay, this is how it's functioning. When I begin to understand this, then I can start bringing my control over it. Without really understanding and becoming aware, how can I control it? Not possible. Are you with me? So therefore, he beautifully explains this. He says, force is Prakriti. But you are actually that consciousness which is beyond the gunas, which is indestructible, but it is seemingly binding you. And then you have fallen from that grace. And you are now running after these things. And you are affected. The embodied, which is indestructible, is now completely become bound. The free person is now become what? Totally a slave. And even when you are thinking yourself to be a slave, you are actually free. And Swami Ramatita beautifully explains this. He says, a slave is a slave because he is free. An outstanding statement Swami Ramatita makes. He says, a slave is a slave because he is free. You are free. So you imagined yourself to be a slave. And even when you are imagining yourself to be a slave, you are actually having the freedom. You can now come out of that imagination yourself. You can come out of that imagination yourself. And nothing outside, nothing inside can bind you. But you have today allowed everything outside, everything inside to bind you, dictate terms to you. This is what has happened. Now, having explained this first general description, then he gets on to each and every quality. So in the next shloka, he talks about how Satva binds you. What is the nature of Satva and how it binds you? He talks about that. Because he just now said only Satva, Rajas, Tamas. Now he has to get into what is their nature, how they bind you.
Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanāmayam sukha sangena baddhati jnana sangena chanagha.
Sri Krishna is addressing Arjuna here as Anaga. Anaga means sinless fellow, pure person. So Arjuna, you're a pure guy. Literally true also. All of us are pure. Atma. And also in communication, psychology is very important. Supposing you say you are a useless idiot, buffoon, listen to me. Who will listen? You will be agitated by your words. He called me buffoon, idiot, and then your mind is disturbed. Now, how will you listen? So, if you are cutting a strong iron with an hacksaw blade, you need to lubricate it with oil to reduce the friction. So when you keep on using a lot of adjectives which enthusiasm, which inspires the student, Arjuna, will be able to grasp the knowledge more. Psychologically also it's correct. And in the world also, generally also, Arjuna is a pure person. Anaga. He says, of these. Of these means, he's referring to the three gunas he mentioned in the previous shloka. Satva, Rajas and Tamas. Of these, Satva being stainless, nirmalatva. Satva, nirmalatva. Tatra Satvam nirmalatva. Prakasha Kamanamayam. Prakasha Kamanamayam. He says it is luminous and healthy. Anamayam means healthy, which is healthy in the sense without disease. He's talking about mental disease in particular. So he says Sattva is stainless, nirmalatva, without any mala. What are the mala that he's referring to? Rajas and Tamas. When Sattva guna you discuss, it is devoid of Rajas and Tamas. Rajas and Tamas are the malas. What they are, he'll talk about. They are the mala, they are the dirt. So this is free of those stains. And it is luminous. So when, for example, you take a brass vessel, which is oxidized, you remove the the dirt, the stain. Use the brasso and then wipe it with a cloth. What happens? It shines. And also the light reflects on it nicely, isn't it? So it is luminous, meaning the nature of Sattva is clarity. Light means knowledge, clarity, intelligence, discrimination. This is the nature of Sattva. And he gives another quality. What is that? Healthy, meaning it is devoid of the disease called Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, all these things, necessary insecurity is there, is that nothing is there. So, what is the nature of Sattva? It is stainless, it is free of Rajas and Tamas, and it is knowledge and devoid of disease. Health. Knowledge and health is the quality of Sattva, he says. But it also binds. How it binds? He says it binds through attachment to happiness and attachment to knowledge. That's how it binds. Sukha sangena badnati, jnana sangena chanaga. It sukha sangena cha, jnana sangena badnati. Through the attachment to happiness and attachment to knowledge. See, when Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, all this. Kama, Krodha, Lobha means what? Desire, anger, jealousy, greed, fear, delusion, all these are not there. Attachment itself is not there. Which is the nature of Rajas, no? Which he'll talk about next. So, it would have been better if he started from Tamas, Rajas, Sattva. But he now wants to say from the top to bottom. So, what he says is, it is free of Tamas and Rajas. It's free of attachment, Sangha. It is free of Kama, desire. It's free of Krodha, anger. It is free of delusion. And it is free of arrogance, jealousy, everything. Now, when all this is not there, you will be peaceful. You will be happy. Isn't it? There is no attachment. There is no selfishness. So, there is no craving. There is no attachment. As a result, what will be there? There will be peace. And a person who experiences that peace, he says that peace itself is binding. And then he says knowledge, a clarity comes, wisdom comes. You're able to decipher and see things. So there is more attachment to knowledge itself, if you're not careful. So Satva binds to two things: happiness, sukha, and knowledge. You want to read more and more, you want to listen to more and more lectures, you want to think of these things more and more, you want to withdraw and go into quietude, because it brings certain, happiness. You may be okay in the company, but when you withdraw from the company and you read the scriptures, you understand the subtle concepts, it gives certain joy. Because as you start understanding the scriptures, see, when you delve into these gunas, it's like looking into the mirror, no? You are looking into your own personality. Suddenly you begin to see, oh my God, that's why I'm attached to this. So now you kind of see the way in which you can get out. So then you want to know more, no? And when you start practicing it, the benefit starts coming. You will be interested in knowing more, more, and more. The person will be attached to knowledge. Person will be attached to quietude, calmness, maunam, silence, detachment, solitude. Now, all these brings certain joy. The subtler aspects, when you do not know that, you are lost in the world. You are attached. As a result, you run after, and then you attain the object. It seems to give some joy when you attain, but along with it, there is some fear of losing it. When there is no attachment, neither there is craving nor there is fear of losing it after getting. So you are in peace. So you want that. There are a lot of people who get addicted to meditation. In fact, in the ashram when we were studying, now sometimes when we have some medical issues, we need to go to the doctors. We need to go from Malavali, our village, where the ashram is, to Pune, which is about 60 kilometers. So we go in the local train. Now, there was this gentleman who was in army, but he was a doctor, was a dentist. No, I don't know, he was a captain or something, like a major or something. So he used to come to our ashram whenever he gets holiday. And morning he'll come, he'll stay, listen to the lectures, have lunch with us, and then evening he'll go back. He told us, whenever you have any dental issues or something, please come to our, center. I'll take care of you guys. You don't have to go anywhere. So we used to go there. One day when I went there, he wasn't there. So he told his friend, so-and-so will come, please take care of him. His friend, as he's treating me, I'm keeping my mouth open like this. And he's treating me and he's telling about meditation. All meditation he's doing and what it does to him. He says, he'll sit down, he'll imagine that there is Shivalinga in his heart, and then slowly the Shivalinga is moving up through the energy channel, and then it goes to Sahasrara, and then in the Sahasrara, it merges or bursts, and then he gets some exhilarating pleasure. He's telling me this. And I am keeping my mouth open, he's doing it, but I can't say anything anyway. I can't say, in Vedanta we say before meditation, you should have come to mental renunciation. For that you need to do karma yoga, bhakti yoga. All that I can't say, neither is he asking. But he's saying it is very addictive. He himself used that word. And he says, I can't wait to go back and do that meditation. As he's treating me, he's telling. And then, especially, they have to write a lot of exams and then they keep getting promotions, no? So he says every time he is writing exam and all, he wants to do that meditation because it gives such tremendous peace, joy. He is so addicted to that. So there is pleasure in detachment. And once you experience that, You want to kind of, get into that. An aloofness kind of, loneness kind of. That's what he's talking about. It binds you to that happiness. Sukhat, it binds you to sukham, it binds you to knowledge. All the time it is knowing, more. You may even cut articles from the newspaper and keep it with you. You understand? And cleanliness, for example. When you are not attached to many things, you give away. So you have very little. Having very little itself, there is joy. One person who comes to my mind when I discuss about this is Dattaji. Some of you may know Dattaji. He comes from Calcutta. Sometimes he comes to our daily lectures, when Sunandaji gives lectures. He's also come with us to retreats. A very old man. He used to attend my classes in the Middle East. Now he is in Calcutta. Now, Dattaji, when he was staying in Dubai, he had unfortunately lost his wife many years ago. He doesn't have children, so he's staying alone. So when his company had given him some amount for HRA in the salary, a lot of people rent 3-bedroom apartment in that easily. And then they buy the furnitures. And when they had to move all the furnitures. What he did is, I am just a single person. Right? I don't need such big house and all. So he rented a small 2-bedroom apartment for that. But it is furnished. None of the furnitures belong to him. It is furnished. All he had to own was 1 or 2 suitcases, which is his clothes and books and stuff. That's all. His whole property was just that much. I used to stay with him sometimes when I go for classes there. And when he retired, very easily he booked his ticket and moved. All the other fellows, they had to plan how they are going to move this, the container, this thing, that. He had nothing, just 2 suitcases. In that also some he gave away. So he moved without any problem. So when you travel light, when you have very little things, that gives you certain joy. So you'll be addicted to that. You'll be agitated. When you travel with some people, they're told you are allowed 20 kilos. They will be happy only if they take minimum 21. You're told 20, minimum 21 होना चाहिए. वहां जाके वो 1 kilo के लिए थोड़ा सा बातचीत करके, you don't want to pay that extra. You just cannot, but this fellow, travel light, come karo. So this fellow is bound to that. And similarly, cleanliness. So Swamiji talks about one of his colleagues when he was working before he took to Vedanta. He was with a multinational company called SO. He says he had a colleague who was called as CD Srinivasan. His name is Srinivasan. His initial was not CD, but he was called as CD Srinivasan. I think his name is Srinivasan. CD means clean desk. Meaning his desk was so clean. He was known by that. Clean desk Srinivasan. So, when everything is organized, there is a joy in that being organized. Everything is properly washed, ironed, where the soiled clothes has to be, where the clothes that are washed and which needs to be ironed to be. When it is ironed, it should get back. When things are thrown around, when a person is extremely disturbed, highly desirous, rajasic, that person may be comfortable with all that. Similarly, there is a certain music which is soothing. There is a certain music which is loud. So once you start enjoying that happiness, which is with less, they call it a minimalism nowadays, no? Minimalism. So there is joy in that. There is sukha in that. That the Rajasic person and Tamasic person doesn't know. Isn't it? They are not experiencing that joy. But this person is experiencing joy in that. So one extra thing comes also, he gets agitated. Arey Baba, take it away. Who kept this here? This is not supposed to be here. So other fellows think, what is wrong with this fellow? Just now I kept 2 minutes ago. I'm going to take it away anyway. So much fuss you are making. Right? But that fellow is bound to that sukha. That is also bondage. In the sense, he's not trying to say, therefore you should not be clean. Therefore, he's not saying you should not be organized. You should not enjoy the aloneness. He's not saying all that, solitude. No. Everything is fine, but that should not be a condition. But that becomes a condition in a sattvic person. It is better to have such a condition than to have other conditions. You understand? Where you need to have too many things. These things have to be there. That is Rajas and Tamas. He's going to discuss that in the next slokas. But it is definitely better than Rajasic and Tamasic. But understand that this is also bondage. Because this joy, when you talk about joy, where is the joy experienced? In the mind. And again in Tattva, he talks about these Indriya Gwalayas. They are only the counter. They are only the counter. The real instrument is the subtle body. For example, when you say this ear, that physical ear portion is only the Gwalaya, the external organ. The real ear is inside, the capacity to hear. You understand? So, that is in the mind. The center of that is in the mind. It is part of subtle body. Are you with me? So, the instrument of hearing is actually part of subtle body. Is subtle body. The counter is the gross body. If you want to sell a book, you have to keep the book on a counter and sell. Are you with me? Now, or the content, which is what you are buying actually, but it has to be typed in on pages, on paper, right? Paper, you can say, is the counter, and printed information is the instrument. Are you with me? So, like that, the subtle body is where the enjoyment is experienced. Are you with me? So, when you are experiencing, there is an experiencer experiencing the experienced. Still, there is trinity, there is duality, still, there is experiencer experiencing. So, it is not Akhandananda. It is not the bliss of Atma. Are you with me? It is not the bliss of Atma, but you are very close to Atma. Because the Rajas and Tamas is gone. So the self reflects itself. When he says luminosity, the reflection of the self is much stronger and better. When you have removed the kai, the green mantle, and you have quietened the river, let's say the river is not too much of wind or anything, the current is not there, the river is not flowing, it's still, let's say, water is still, then the reflection of the sun or the moon will be much clearer. But it's still a reflection only. It is still a reflection. Similarly, when you have gotten rid of the Rajas and Tamas, Nirmalatvat, he said, no. Of these, Satva is stainless. So, Tamas and Rajas is gone. When Tamas and Rajas is gone, the Kai is gone, the agitated river has become quiet, Rajas is gone, then the reflection is much better. So you experience, so it's still a reflected joy only. It is not the Akhandanandam of Atma. It is not the bliss of Atma. It is still pertaining to the lower level. Are you with me? Therefore, you have to still cross that and go. You have to cross Satva also and go there. That is what he is explaining here. So therefore he says, Satva binds you to luminosity and health. People are crazy. Sir, what is this? Now only you have come to 14th chapter. And in this also you take off every now and then, you keep on traveling. You understand? Or something or the other happens, then the class is not there. When will you finish Bhagavad Gita? I want to go to Upanishads. I want to go to, this text and that text. People are interested more and more and more to get into this knowledge. It's a subtler joy. The Isavasya Upanishad, when Swamiji talks about that shloka from 9 to 12 and 13 to 15, it talks about how the world is binding and how you can be bound by spirituality. He says, world is a ordinary glue. Spirituality is super glue, he says. World is a ordinary glue. Spirituality is super glue. Those who are bound to the world are in ignorance. Those who are bound to spirituality, they are in deeper ignorance, deeper darkness. So it talks about it. See, the scriptures talk about the world, then Swarga, and goes up to Brahmaloka. And in the 8th chapter, verse 16, he says, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravarti Surjuna in Bhagavad Gita. 8th chapter, 16th shloka in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravarti Surjuna. Worlds up to Brahmaloka, you will come back. In other words, if you are experiencing ice cream, Haagen Dazs, Baskin Robbins, quality, whatever ice cream it may be, in the world, in Delhi, it gives X amount of joy. The same Haagen Dazs, the same quality ice cream, you go to Swarg, it tastes 10x. Okay, here it is X, there it is 10x. Now you go to Brahmalok, it is what? Trillion X. But trillion also is a finite number. Trillion is also a finite number. But trillion, if you can't free your mind from X amount of joy, freeing your mind from 10x is easy. Is it easy to free your mind from trillion X? So that is why he's saying, those who are bound to the world are in ignorance. Those who are bound to spirituality are in deeper ignorance. You're going from pillar to post. You're waiting for the announcement of the next retreat. Your announcement of the next text being studied, or where meditation is going to happen. Whole day meditation, you get excited. So in other words, it is also the sukham that the mind is experiencing, and the mind starts getting bound to that sukham. Though it is definitely better than the other, it is still bondage. But here, it is difficult to see that bondage. Every bondage is difficult as long as you are in the bondage. But when the bondage is subtler, it becomes even more difficult. You won't see. Because you are having the clarity. Yeah, I know. Then you get bound more and more. So, very nicely he says, Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatva. It is free from these two malas, Rajas and Tamas. And Prakashakamanamaya. The nature of Sattva is what? Luminosity and health. Health means mental health especially. When you have mental health, obviously the other health will be the byproduct. Physical health and everything. Clarity of the intellect, which is the intellectual health. All this will be a byproduct. And you will have luminosity and health, he says. And then he says, Satva binds you to happiness, sukham, and jnanam. It binds you to sukham and jnanam. So, All he's trying to say is increase sattva, but don't get stuck there. We tend to get stuck, na? Settler, and then we are better off. We know how to live. There is another step to which you can go, but you are not. You're getting stuck there. So therefore, he says, even sattva binds you. Please understand. And sometimes, that's why they compare spiritual progress to frog's leap. When a frog takes leap, it may jump quickly from one place to another, tap, 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 like that. Few leaps. Suddenly, one particular place, it may wait for hours together and then may take another leap, maybe small or big. So, like that, you may get stuck in these things, in calmness, in solitude, in cleanliness, in reading, reflecting, etc., etc., meditation. And you may be stuck for hours together, janmas together. You're not careful. Because he's going to talk about all that later on. Once you have certain qualities predominating, what will happen to your life, how it will go, you don't know. You have no idea. So therefore, he says, you have to understand. This is the nature of sattva, and this is how it binds you. Once you understand this, you will come out of it. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.